Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
It is Tuesday, and all of our guests today, including Noodles, standing by, brought to you by the Waddling Dog Pub, one of Victoria's favorite local watering holes, located 10 minutes from the ferry terminal. The Waddling Dog Pub is the place to catch all NHL playoff action. With spring finally here, Rick, the Waddling Dog is excited to open their heated, dog-friendly patio. Don't miss their fully stocked liquor store and 30-room boutique hotel attached. There are countless reasons to come, sit, and stay at the Waddling Dog. As we bring in from TSN, Noodles, Jamie McLennan. Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final tomorrow in Denver, Avalanche versus the Lightning. Jamie, thanks for doing this. How are you, sir?
Not too bad. How's everyone doing today?
Very well, very, very well. Hey, you're a goaltender. Once a goaltender, always a goaltender. Can you envision Pavel Francouz and or Darcy Kemper out-dueling Andrei Vasilevskiy in the Stanley Cup Final?
I mean, I think Kemper can. We call Pavel Francouz Freddie Frances on our show, but I mean, honestly, he's a guy who's a bit of a lightning rod for us because a couple of years ago, Joe Sakic, this team was on the verge of doing something special, I thought, and they were down to their third goaltender in Michael Hutchinson in Game 7 against Dallas, I believe. And, to me, I thought they would have moved past Francouz. I think he's a good goaltender, but I just don't think he's the equivalent of Darcy Kemper. The challenge with Kemper is help. I could see them out-dueling him when you get some help, and that's the thing. They've got a defensive core that is so mobile and like to jump into the play. They're obviously all about puck possession, but I could see them, if they're just good. They don't have to be great, but if they're not bad, I could see Colorado getting the edge just based on how deep Colorado has been and how good they've played this season. But, there's no argument for me, guys. Vasilevskiy has always been the best goaltender in the world. I know Shesterkin's going to win the Vezina and going to get Hart Trophy votes, but I still think it's held by Vasilevskiy as the best goaltender on this planet.
Man, Jamie, when the playoffs started, I just looked at that Leafs-Tampa Bay series, and the way it started, I thought to myself, oh, boy, the Leafs are so much faster than Tampa Bay. This thing's going to be over quick. Ends up Tampa wins. The Rangers also seemed like a quicker team. That didn't happen. Other than maybe speed, is there a weakness that the Avs can exploit on the Lightning?
Not really, yeah. I'll be honest, because you look at the way that Tampa has, we'll call it adjusts, and that's the thing. The Leafs look really fast, they look skilled, and then Tampa was like, okay, well, we'll just play really good defense, and we'll see what the Leafs have physically. And they found a way to neutralize the top players from the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's exactly what they did against the Rangers. And the Panthers, that was an outlier. They scored 3 goals in 4 games on Vasilevskiy. I thought he was brilliant. Even his goals saved above expected. He was 11, I think. He stopped 11 goals that should have gone in the net because Florida did generate some chances. But that being said, the one thing that I've been so impressed with Tampa is they can play any which way game because they've got fast forwards. They've got skilled forwards. You want to take it to the ground, they've got guys that can play physical. And, their top-end guys can match any other team's top-end guys. So, yes, Makar and McKinnon, well, they're going to counter you with Stamkos and Kucherov and Hedman. You throw in, and then the goaltender, and then you secondary players like Palat and Killorn. And, it's impressive what Tampa's been able to do. And I don't know, and I don't know how you guys feel, if John Cooper gets enough love. Here's a guy who is he's a great coach, and he manages that team. And that's tough to do sometimes where, you've got guys that have won back-to-back cups and maybe they get a little bit complacent, but he finds a way to press buttons and to adapt. So I think Colorado is going to have speed. They're going to have pace. They're going to have physicality. but I would expect Tampa to have answers to anything that's thrown at them.
Jamie, Vasilevskiy allowed 9 goals in the first 2 games against the Rangers, only 5 in the last 4. That 8-day layoff going into the Rangers after they swept the Lightning or swept the Panthers. Does that layoff hurt a goaltender more than the other players on the team, Jamie?
I would say yes, just based on timing. Players, you can rest your bumps, so you can feel a little bit better about your game as far as, the long layoff. And for a player to get back onto the ice, to get your timing back, it's about speed. You can try a little bit harder. You can skate a little harder. You can get involved physically. For a goaltender, you can't stop the puck harder. So your timing is either there or it's not. And I didn't think Vasilevskiy's timing looked particularly great the opening night in New York. I think he gave up 6 or 7, I think it was. And they were targeting the blocker side. Now, I wouldn't lay it all at his feet. I thought there were some really poor performances that night, including, I think it was the first goal where Kreider is wide open in front, and you've got Bogosian and Kucherov chasing Zibanejad into the corner, basically. So, there was a lot of missed assignments. But for a goaltender, absolutely, I think it's tougher for him in a long layover to adapt because there's no margin for error, where maybe a defenseman can have a poor pass or a poor outlet look or something where maybe it doesn't cost him a goal. If Vasilevskiy's off for his timing, it's going to probably cost him a goal.
Hey, Jamie, there was a league executive told a national media member last week, he said something to the effect that trade Demko, he's got hip issues, he's the next Corey Schneider. Caught a lot of people off guard here in Vancouver. Do you see anything resembling, Demko with hip issues that would concern you?
No, I mean, that's catching me off guard, too. I did hear about that. I didn't know how much fire that would obviously make through the market, but you guys know how I feel about Demko. He's going to win a Vezina at some point, and he's that good of a goaltender. And I'll take, I know hip is a very concerning situation, and especially with goaltenders nowadays, hip rotation is so key in playing that position. I don't think he's the next Corey Schneider. I love Corey Schneider as a goaltender. I think Demko's better than him and will be better than him. So, it is cause for concern if there is something that's nagging in there that, we're not privy to his medical file. But, a Demko is the guy that I would stick with every day of the week. And, obviously it is concerning if there is some back channeling medical information that isn't public, but that's something that you have to monitor. But I wouldn't do anything with Thatcher Demko. It might be an executive trying to get Vancouver to scare him and trade him somewhere to a choice of his team. But honestly, I love Demko, and I think he's a guy that is a special goaltender, and those don't come by every day.
Yeah, I think when they were making the Schneider comparisons, it was more about being supposedly on top of the goaltending world, and then health issues turn their ugly head. Hey, Jim, I was going to ask you about the Stanley Cup Final, but I just found out moments ago that Jim Bearcat Murray has passed away. Flames trainer. He would have been no longer with the Flames, or at least no longer their trainer by the time you played there. But you're from Alberta, and I think he still hung around with the team after he left his post. What are your memories of Bearcat Murray?
Just his personality. He's a guy that was so positive. He was right in the middle of everything, and there's some famous video out there of him waving the white towel on the bench, and he was I know he was a trainer, but he was a teammate. And even when I played for the Flames, he was around, and he was a guy that was certainly kind of a legendary status within the room. Like, didn't matter what was going on. When Bearcat showed up, everyone had time for him, because he wasn't just, hey, there's the former trainer type of thing. He was pretty much an icon within the organization. So I saw the news. It's certainly sad news, but he's a guy that, he leaves a lasting impression with you. And, it's sad that he's passed, but I know that his stamp will be lived on forever in Calgary, because he's a guy that it didn't matter when he was the trainer there. Years after, he was still very important to that organization.
Yeah, we're just throwing a shot of Bearcat up on our screen here. And I think he's one of these people who, when you see him, like now, you go, that guy. And you remember him on the bench, real distinct look. And he used to hustle on the ice whenever somebody was injured. You always worry about him falling, but you could just tell how much he cared. Hey, Jamie, very quickly, I said I wanted you to make a prediction. I'm going to hold you to that very quickly. Lightning, Avs, who do you like?
I'm going to say Tampa, because how do you think, how do you beat Vasilevskiy 4 times?
Yeah.
But I will say, full disclosure, I chose Colorado to win the cup at the start of the year. So maybe I should stick with that, but it's just looking at Tampa and how they've been able to adjust, and the fact that Braden Point is, I think, taking full line rushes today. We're certainly going to see him in this series. That's going to help the depth of Tampa, and especially with the question mark around Nazem Kadri. That's a massive blow for Colorado in the 2-hole there in the center ice position. So I'll stick with Tampa three-peating. That would be a really great story.
Well, hold on a second. You stick with Tampa. You said you picked Colorado earlier.
Yeah.
I did pick Colorado, but I just said, how are you going to beat Vasilevskiy 4 times? I don't want to be on the fence. You put my feet to the fire. I mean, I should stick with my original, Colorado from day one, I said, is the best team in the league. Okay, you talked me into it. Let's go Colorado.
Okay, all right.
Now I just handed Tampa a three-peat, because everything I pick, it's the opposite. Put it that way.
Don't feel bad. I picked Carolina to win the cup a long time ago. Last time I checked, that's not going to happen. Well, God bless Bearcat Murray, and Jamie, thanks so much for this.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys.